If someone had told me 5 years ago that I would walk into a store, look around, and leave with nothing but a sense of peace, I probably would have laughed. Back then, spending money felt like second nature. It was what we did after church on Sundays. It was how I tried to show my wife I cared, bringing home something nice, something new. A new pillow, a candle, a gadget from the hardware store. Just little things, you know? But at some point, those little things started adding up. And not just in the bank account. They were piling up in our closets, in the garage, in the corners of our minds. It felt like we were always catching up, always managing stuff. So one day, we decided to do something different. Not radical, not forever. Just a pause. A no-spend season. We agreed. No shopping, no extras, no more just because purchases. And let me tell you, what came out of that season surprised me more than I can put into words. It changed the way we saw our home, our marriage, our money, and even ourselves. So today, I want to share with you the 6 things that truly changed when my wife and I stopped spending. I'm not a financial expert. I'm just a husband who got tired of chasing things and found something better waiting in the stillness. Let's talk about what happened. One change at a time. 1. Stuff stopped owning us. When we first started this no-spend season, I thought the hardest part would be not buying new things. Turns out, the hardest part was facing all the things we already had. Let me explain. Our home isn't fancy, but it's full. Or at least it was, full of things we picked up over the years. Candles that had never been lit. Throw pillows we kept switching out. Kitchen gadgets I bought thinking they'd make dinner easier, but never touched. You know the kind. Those little egg slicers or the fancy garlic press that's more work to clean than just using a knife. We had duplicates of everything. Some items we forgot we even owned. I remember standing in our guest room one afternoon, just looking at a closet that wouldn't close. Inside were old comforters, serving platters, unopened holiday decorations, and 3 different kinds of wreaths. And I thought to myself, why are we holding on to all this? That closet wasn't just full, it was weighing us down. Before we stopped spending, I didn't think about these things. I told myself, it's just a few dollars here and there. But the truth is, it wasn't about the money. It was about the energy all this stuff was quietly demanding from us. The time to manage it, clean around it, store it, move it. The frustration every time we couldn't find something because of the clutter. I started to realize that our home didn't feel peaceful anymore. It felt crowded, even though it was just the 2 of us living there. And something even deeper hit me. We were holding on to a lot of things from a life we no longer lived. My wife still had clothes from her office job. She's been retired for 6 years now. I had tools for hobbies. I gave up long ago. There were boxes of picture frames we always meant to hang, but never did. It was like we were living with ghosts of old versions of ourselves. Versions we were no longer trying to be. When we paused the spending, it was like a fog lifted. Suddenly, we could see all the things we'd been blind to. And slowly, without really planning it, we started letting go. One drawer at a time, one cabinet, one shelf. It wasn't a big Marie Kondo production. No fancy organizers. No perfect after pictures. Just us, sitting on the floor saying, we don't need this. And then putting it in the donation pile. And here's the part I didn't expect. The more we gave away, the better we felt. Lighter, calmer, like our home could finally breathe again. And so could we. We thought we were doing a no-spend challenge to save money, but this was something else entirely. We were clearing out more than clutter. We were clearing space in our minds, our marriage, our daily life. You want to know the truth? The stuff wasn't making us happy. It was distracting us from the things that actually did. Our walks after dinner, cooking a simple meal together, hearing the quiet hum of the house without a pile of unopened boxes reminding us of yesterday's impulse. Now, when I walk through our home, I don't see all the things we have used to have. I see space. I see peace. And that's something no sale rack ever gave us. 2. We redefined normal. One of the most surprising things that happened when my wife and I stopped spending was that our idea of normal completely changed. And I don't just mean what we spent money on. I mean the way we saw everyday life, what we thought we needed to feel okay, to feel comfortable, to feel like we were doing life the right way. You see, we didn't grow up with much. Back then, people used what they had. They mended socks, reused foil, and passed down casserole dishes like they were family heirlooms. But somewhere along the way, probably in our 40s, when the kids were older and the paychecks were bigger, we slowly started shifting. Little by little, we upgraded everything. We bought name-brand jeans. We chose the good butter at the grocery store. We swapped out working appliances just because they weren't stainless steel. We bought matching seasonal decor like the catalogs told us to. I remember when my wife said she couldn't go back to store-brand coffee, and I remember saying I'd never again drive a car that didn't have a warranty. We thought that was just normal. We worked hard. We deserved these things. But here's the problem. The longer you keep raising your standards, the harder it becomes to feel satisfied. Normal becomes expensive and fragile. It's like chasing a moving target. You get the new thing, and pretty soon, it's not new anymore. When we started our no-spend season, we cut out everything that wasn't essential. No more upgrades, no more name brands just because, no more shopping to feel good. And at first, I'll be honest, it felt strange, like we were missing out, like we were slipping behind. But something shifted. Instead of saying, I need this to feel okay, we started asking, do I already have something that works? And you know what? We usually did. That old coffee pot still worked. The jeans from last season still fit. The towels from 20 years ago? Still drying just fine. The more we lived without upgrading, the more we realized how little we actually needed. And slowly, our version of normal started to look a lot more like how we grew up. Simple, practical, real. And let me say this, choosing simplicity is not settling. It's not about going without. It's about being content with what already is. Our meals didn't taste any worse when we used the cheaper cheese. Our home didn't stop being warm and inviting because we didn't decorate for every holiday. And my wife? She's just as lovely in her comfortable old clothes as she ever was in the expensive ones. Now, our idea of normal is completely different. A normal evening is making soup together instead of ordering out. A normal Sunday is reading on the porch instead of browsing stores. A normal budget doesn't include spontaneous spending, but it does include saving for things that truly matter. We let go of a version of life that wasn't ours anymore, and what replaced it was something quieter, truer, and honestly, a whole lot more peaceful. So, if you've ever felt like you're not doing enough, or your life isn't as polished as someone else's, pause for a minute. Ask yourself, who decided what normal should look like? Because once we started deciding that for ourselves, everything changed. 3. We got closer. I didn't expect our marriage to change when we stopped spending. I thought we were just tightening the belt a bit, saving money, clearing out clutter, keeping things simple. What I didn't realize was how much all that stuff had been sitting between us, quietly for years. You see, when you spend a lot, especially over time, it becomes part of your rhythm. You go out and buy things, not because you need them, but because it's how you pass time. A new pair of shoes here, a little gift there, a Target run just because, and don't get me wrong, those things can be fun. But for us, they started replacing something deeper. Time together. Real time. Focused time. The kind of time you share when there's nothing else pulling your attention. Before the no-spend season, I'd be watching TV in the living room, while my wife was scrolling on her phone in the bedroom, hunting for deals. We were in the same house, but not really in the same space. Our conversations were about packages arriving, or which credit card points we'd use next. We weren't fighting, but we weren't connecting either. When we stopped shopping, our evenings suddenly opened up. There were no more Amazon carts to check, no more discussions about whether the sale was worth it. So we just sat with each other. At first it felt odd, like something was missing. But before long, we started talking again. Really talking. We talked about our dreams, things we hadn't spoken about in years. We talked about our kids, our health, our hopes for retirement. We sat out on the porch after dinner. We cooked more meals together, slowly, without rushing. I found myself asking her questions just to hear her answers, and she'd laugh at my old jokes again, the ones I thought she'd grown tired of. One night, while we were making soup, she said, "You know, it feels like we used to live in two different worlds, and now we're back in the same one." I knew exactly what she meant. The busyness, the spending, the constant flow of things, it had distracted us from what really mattered. We started remembering who we were when we first got married. Before the house, the bills, the lists. Just two people who liked being in the same room. And I have to tell you, that was more valuable than any sale we ever chased. The truth is, relationships need space to grow. And sometimes, all that buying and upgrading and planning, it fills up the space where connection is supposed to live. Once we made room, we found each other again. Not in some dramatic movie scene way, but in the quiet, familiar way that love shows up when you actually give it your attention. So no, we didn't just get rid of clutter. We got rid of distance. And in its place, we found laughter, stories, long walks, and the comfort of being fully present with the person who's walked beside you through decades of life. We thought we were simplifying our budget, but what we really simplified was our relationship. And in doing that, we got closer than we'd been in years. 4. We started letting go. There's a moment, somewhere along the journey of not spending, when something shifts. At first, it's about holding on to what you already have. Use what we've got, we said. No need to buy more. And that makes sense. It's practical. But what surprised both of us was that once we stopped bringing new things into the house, we suddenly felt the urge to let go of the old ones too. And I don't just mean tidying up. I mean really letting go. Facing the things we'd packed away in closets, in drawers, in boxes we hadn't opened in years. The things we kept just in case. The clothes that didn't fit anymore. The decorations from holidays we no longer celebrated the same way. The tools from hobbies we abandoned. The books we meant to read but never did. At first, it felt uncomfortable. There's a strange kind of guilt that comes with owning too much. Like each item is silently asking, why am I still here? Some of the things we held on to because they cost us money. Some we kept for sentimental reasons. And some, well, we didn't even know why anymore. But once we stopped shopping, our home got quieter. And in that quiet, we could finally see what had been sitting with us all this time. I remember opening an old storage bin in the guest room closet. Inside were old birthday cards, tangled cords, a sweater I hadn't worn in over a decade, and a stack of travel brochures from a trip we never took. I sat there on the floor, the lid in my lap, and I felt something I hadn't expected. Not sadness, but relief. It was time to let it go. We didn't do it all at once. It happened slowly, room by room. My wife would go through a drawer while she waited for the tea kettle. I'd clean out a shelf in the garage on a quiet Saturday morning. We didn't rush it. We just moved with the feeling. And the feeling kept saying, you don't need this anymore. Letting go became a kind of therapy, and not just physical things. We started releasing old expectations too. The pressure to keep everything looking new. The weight of trying to be perfectly organized. The idea that our home had to be Pinterest ready for guests who mostly came to see us, not the centerpiece on the table. And I'll tell you something beautiful that happened. Once we began clearing out, we created space, not just in our home, but in our minds. Suddenly, there was room to breathe, room to rest, room to be. That clutter we were holding on to, it had been whispering to us all along, telling us to stay busy, stay distracted, keep chasing. But once it was gone, there was only quiet. And in that quiet, we found peace. We kept what we loved. We honored the things that held memories. But we let go of the rest. And with every box we donated, every shelf we emptied, we felt just a little bit lighter. So if you're holding on to something right now, an item, a habit, an old version of yourself, maybe it's time to ask, is this still serving me? Or am I just afraid to let it go? Because here's what we learned. Letting go doesn't mean losing something. It means making space for what matters now. 5. Our money found its purpose. Before we started our no-spend season, I couldn't have told you where half our money was going. Oh sure, I could show you the bank statement. I could point out the grocery runs, the Amazon charges, the little trips to the store. But if you had asked me, what's your money really doing for you? I wouldn't have had a good answer. We were spending, but not with intention. We weren't reckless. We paid our bills. But somehow, at the end of every month, the money just disappeared. And when something came up, a car repair, a medical bill, or a family emergency, we'd feel the pinch. We'd whisper to each other at night, we really need to start saving more. But the next week, there we were again, shopping out of habit. That changed when we stopped spending. In that first month, something amazing happened. We still got our regular paycheck, but at the end of the month, there was money left over. Not a lot, but enough to notice, enough to feel different. It was like finding space in a closet you thought was already full. And it made us pause. We looked at each other and said, what if we did this again next month? So we did. And again after that. And little by little, something we hadn't felt in a long time started to grow. Control? We weren't just letting our money trickle through our fingers, we were giving it direction. We made a simple plan, not a spreadsheet, not a complex budget, just a clear idea of what mattered most. Pay off the car, build a small emergency fund, put aside money for a trip to visit the grandkids, start a little savings account for home repairs so we wouldn't feel panicked every time the heater made a strange sound. And here's the thing, the joy we used to get from shopping? It couldn't touch the feeling of seeing that savings account grow. It couldn't compete with the relief of knowing we were ready for the next unexpected expense. We weren't just reacting anymore. We were preparing, and that gave us a peace we didn't know we were missing. Our money started working for us, instead of quietly working against us in the background. We also started talking more openly about what we valued. We realized we didn't need more things. We needed more freedom, more margin, more ability to say yes to the things that really matter. A last-minute visit from our daughter? Sure, we can help. A chance to give to someone in need? We can say yes without worry. And let me tell you, being generous feels better than any shopping trip ever did. This wasn't about becoming frugal just for the sake of it. It was about shifting from spending without thinking to spending with purpose. And the money? It started to reflect who we really were, not who the ads said we should be. We didn't suddenly become wealthy, but we became something better, intentional. And that has made all the difference. 6. We found our why. By the time we reached the end of our no-spend season, something had shifted so deeply inside us that we knew we were never going back to how things were, not just the shopping, not just the clutter, not just the mindless spending. All of it, the noise, the pressure, the autopilot living, and what replaced it was clarity. At first, our goal had been simple: spend less, save more, clean out the closets, get a little breathing room in the budget. But over time, we realized that this journey had given us something we didn't even know we were missing. We found our why. You see, when you take away the constant distractions, the packages on the porch, the sales in your inbox, the urge to upgrade everything, what you're left with is the truth. The real questions rise to the surface. Questions like, why are we doing all of this? Who are we trying to impress? What kind of life do we want to build with whatever time we've got left? For us, the answer wasn't in things. It wasn't in stuff. It was in time. Time to sit on the porch without a phone in our hands. Time to write letters to old friends. Time to be present with our grandkids when they visit, without worrying about money or mess. Time to reflect on our life with gratitude, not regret. We realized we didn't want to spend the rest of our years maintaining a life we built out of habit. We wanted to choose what came next, intentionally, lovingly, and with purpose. And that meant asking some hard questions. Did we really need a house this big anymore? Were we spending more time managing our possessions than enjoying our lives? Were we pouring our energy into things that truly fed our soul? Or just trying to keep up appearances? You see, when we stopped spending, we didn't just gain money. We gained a filter, a lens through which we could finally see what mattered. It was like someone wiped the windows clean. Suddenly, things that used to feel so important, the latest kitchen gadget, the perfect throw pillows, the newest jeans, didn't even register anymore. And what did come into focus? Our family, our health, our memories, the small, sacred joys of daily life. My wife's laugh when she forgets where she put her glasses, which, by the way, are always on her head. The smell of coffee in the early morning while the house is still quiet. The sound of rain hitting the windows while we sit on the couch, holding hands, saying nothing at all. That's our why now. Living simply, loving well, being free, not in some grand, dramatic way, but in the everyday, gentle way that feels right in your bones. And let me tell you, it's not about perfection. We're not living some picture-perfect minimalist lifestyle. We still make coffee runs. We still get tempted. We still stumble. But the difference is, now we notice. Now we ask ourselves, does this align with our why? If it doesn't, we let it go. So if you're listening to this and feeling like something's been missing, like life's too loud, too fast, too full, I want to encourage you. Pause. Just for a little while. Step off the treadmill. Stop the spending. Turn down the volume. Because in that quiet, something sacred can rise up. You may just find your why too. And when you do, you'll never look at life the same way again. Thank you for spending this time with me. If you've made it all the way to the end of this video, then I know something in your heart is stirring. Maybe it's a longing for simplicity, for peace, or just for a little less noise in your life. I want you to know, it's not too late to make that change. You don't have to do anything drastic. You don't need to have all the answers. Just take one small step. Pause before you spend. Breathe before you buy. Ask yourself gently, is this really what I need? Or am I just reaching for something to fill the space? And if you do that, even just for a week or a month, I believe you'll start to feel it too. The peace, the clarity, the purpose that's been waiting underneath the clutter. If this message spoke to you today, I'd be honored if you'd subscribe to the channel. Here on Wise Elders Insight, we're not chasing trends. We're returning to timeless wisdom. Together. And if you've been on your own journey of letting go, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. What's one thing you stopped buying? Or one moment where you felt free again? Until next time, take care of your heart, your home, and the life you're still beautifully building, one intentional step at a time.